like norm respecter guy. But I mean, there's no justification for it. Like, as I said, like this is a life and death thing. And especially given what happened with Merrick Garland, like this is a stolen Supreme Court seat. Like this is it's completely unacceptable. It should be completely unacceptable. So yeah, I mean, I think if you have any Democrats who vote for him, then they should be just, see ya. Like, you're not getting any money for your election. You're not getting any DNC money. You're not getting any, DSCC money for your reelection. So bye. And I don't ever see Chuck Schumer doing that. Like, I just don't see that happening, which is, I mean, maybe I don't understand politics, but like, I really don't get what the point of being a Democrat is if you vote for Brett Kavanaugh. So yeah, I don't know, like in terms of whether there's going to be some kind of movement, it's like, it's hard to say. And again, it's like, this is such an uphill battle. Like I kind of don't blame people for being a little defeatist on this one, because it's like the deck is so stacked against us. I think it may be hard to kind of rally people, but I think the way to do that is to make the case about what would happen if he, if he's confirmed, what will happen to Roe v. Wade. You're going to have like just the number of women alone that have had an abortion, that should be should be enough to fill the streets. I think if Democrats have a hope of fighting this, then they have to focus. I mean, honestly, as outrageous as it is that this is a stolen seat, I don't think that's the argument to make, because Republicans don't give a shit about process, and, they never have or whatever. And, just like complaining even correctly about, it not being fair is not going to do it. But, making the case to people like, your voting rights will go away. Your abortion rights will go away. Like things like that. That's what's going to get people motivated, I think.
Yeah, I feel like the Republicans and Democrats, it's kind of like an uneven playing field almost. And I know like a lot of people said this before, but to me, it's so rings true, because the Republicans, they play to do one thing, which is get the most far right possible, it seems like, agenda activated. But the Democrats, they got to worry about like Wall Street. They kind of have to worry about the base. They don't seem to give much thought to it, but it just seems like it's just such a different playing field. And I mean, I think some of the activists, and there is kind of this whole argument that, oh, Joe Manchin's not so bad. He would vote for like more friendly like abortion laws. But then again, if you think about it, by voting for Kavanaugh here, he is almost certainly voting against abortion. So that is kind of the tough situation. But I just think, I don't know if the Democrats could really pull off kind of a targeted thing, but I mean, I just don't know. I think what's going to have to happen here is just like people almost camp out in front of their districts, like the Haidt camp, the Donnelly, the Manchin type people, because they're like people from their districts, abortion activists, just normal. I think the only way they could get this done is like send a bunch of people to the front of their office and say like, please vote against him. Yeah, and then maybe
like the kind of activism we saw around the Affordable Care Act and stuff. I mean, that was really inspiring. I mean, I think I do have some hope that there will be a decent amount of activism against these Democrats who are wavering. There's a new organization called Demand Justice, where, full disclosure, a couple of my friends work there, and it is it's one of the first like courts only dedicated nonprofits that exists on the left, because the right has this huge network of organizations and funding that's dedicated towards making the judiciary as right wing as possible, whereas the Democrats are like super catching up on that. But Demand Justice is pretty cool, and they have not been shy so far about going after Democrats and trying to put pressure on Democrats and getting them to say that they won't vote for him. So like stuff like that is encouraging and cool, and I hope we see more of that for sure.
Yeah, that is a good sign. It really just kind of has to come from the grassroots, because, and I also do think the Republicans do kind of have this problem. We can't really rely on the leadership anymore, that's for sure. All right, we now turn to another interesting story that kind of surfaced, and it has been surfacing for the past couple of days. We all know, of course, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez back on June 26th, I believe it was. She won the primary for the 14th District of New York, topping off for the Democratic nomination, topping off the fourth top Democrat in the House, Joe Crowley, and now Democratic kingpin Joe Crowley. I believe if I'm not mistaken, he's being now egged on by Senator Joe Lieberman, kind of a centrist guy. I don't really know how to describe him. He's urging now former Democrat representative, or soon to be former, Joe Crowley to try to run third party. And I'm kind of a little bit unclear on this. Like, I did hear he was running. He won the race on the Working Families Party line. So he's technically still going to be on the November ballot. And what I heard is he says he's not running, but he would not vacate the line. Lieberman's idea is for him to keep pushing. And, I mean, this to me, I mean, first of all, I just want to clarify, this threat does not, from my point of view, I don't know about yours, it doesn't really seem to be serious.
No, I am not personally worried about the Joe Crowley momentum coming and like stopping Ocasio from taking. I mean, you know, it's a really safe Democratic seat. I would be shocked if like enough people voted for him. Having said that, if he does, you know, yeah, I mean, I think his argument for why he hadn't vacated the line was that he would have to move out of the district or something if he wanted to do that. Which, I mean, I don't know, maybe that's true, but like, fine, you should do that. Like, just get out. You know, like, you know, if he does mount some kind of challenge, if he campaigns at all, if he, you know, does anything on the sly to try and interfere with Ocasio, then that is taking away from time that she could be spending lifting up other left-wing challengers, because her seat is safe. You know, and like she should be able to win easily in November. But when you have a third-party challenger, you go from having to win. You know, you like it makes it that much harder. You know, and like you go from having to get, you know, like, you know, to having to be 50% plus one to like having to make sure that this third party guy doesn't split your vote, and you know, you end up with some like insane Republican winning. Although I actually don't know anything about who would be running against her. I think it's like some guy who doesn't even have a website or something, because it's such a safe seat. So yeah, I mean, it would be like insanely pathetic and crazy if he was doing that. As for Joe Lieberman, like I mean, I had genuinely forgotten he existed until he did this. So like, I don't know, he's just trying to be relevant again. I mean, he really is like yesterday's terrible centrist Democrat. I mean, like even today's centrist Democrats are generally not anything like as terrible as he was. Like he is like one, you know, almost one of a kind in terms of, you know, fake Democratness. You know, he's not even like, Joe Manchin or someone with an excuse of being from a red state. He's from Connecticut. Like he is just like a special little boy who just, you know, I don't know what his deal is. And I mean, I guess you're probably too young to even remember like when he was when he was in Congress or anything like that.
He did win re-election after running in third party, I believe.
Yeah, he's just like, especially, you know, he's not someone that Democrats should ever listen to, and frankly, I don't think he really is someone that Democrats ever listen to. But it does speak to the Wall Street Journal's just complete uselessness and, you know, like bad faith, stupid opinion section that it would run something like that no one cares about. Like, no one should really be paying attention to what this guy thinks, but hopefully Joe Crowley will not take Joe Lieberman's advice and will step aside gracefully. But I wouldn't be surprised, you know, given his record, if he did try to screw things up for Ocasio.
Yeah, and I mean, I really don't think that's since Ocasio did win by 15 points. So I mean, I'm sure she'll have some support, but it just goes to show you that just like it just seems like the centrists in the Democratic Party, like they act incredibly meek towards the Republicans, but when there's a challenger from the left, they go all out and they just play to win. Which is kind of incredibly annoying because all we've been hearing since the 2016 election is unity. support the nominee, no Democratic Party, no third party runs. So it just shows you, like, if he tries this, then that should be something that people who like are in high up progressive positions, like, I don't know, like Justice Dems, Our Revolution, they should definitely not drop that, because that would be pretty incredible.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It is really frustrating to see. I mean, I wouldn't say he's like necessarily exactly the same kind of person who has been hectoring Bernie supporters about like Bernie not even being a Democrat, or like the pathetic number of Jill Stein voters who are apparently to blame for Hillary not going to Wisconsin. But like, he's not exactly the same kind of person. But it does kind of shock me, honestly, if you like. I mean, I know Twitter isn't real life. Twitter is not the election, et cetera, et cetera. But like, you go on Twitter and you like look in the mentions, to like articles about Ocasio or whatever, and it's like full of libs who just hate her, and I don't get it. Like, the attack on Bernie people and leftists and stuff in 2016 was always like, they always pretended that it wasn't about policy. They always pretended that in a way that Hillary was more like progressive than him because Bernie bros were racist or sexist or whatever. Whereas now there's like, just, it's, that isn't the case. They're just showing that like they hate leftists more than they hate fascists. That's really how it is.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like she's not like a Ted Cruz like person. She seems to be someone who can, like, a lot of people can support. And I mean, it just seems like it's kind of inexplicable, all the hate against her. All right, since I know you do have to leave pretty soon, I do one last question here. What is there, both in 2018, 2020 to beyond, what's the positive path ahead for the Democrats?
Oh, wow, that's a great question. I mean, God, there are so many problems. It's hard to identify exactly, what, I would say listen to the people who were right in 2016. Just eradicate these candidates like, just today there was a story, the governor's race in Michigan, there is a candidate, Gretchen Whitmer, who is running against against the really cool Blue Cross the CEO told her to get into politics, and I've actually reported before about Blue Cross sending out sending out a letter to its employees telling them to donate to her, which is, by the way, perfectly legal, which is crazy, telling them to donate to the PAC or whatever so they could donate to her. I mean, she is in the pocket of the insurance industry, and we just need to get rid of people like that, because people do not trust candidates like that, whether or not, even if they claim that they have good policies, which most of them don't, but even when they do, people just don't trust people who are in the pocket of corporations, frankly. So, I would say the path forward looks pretty much like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's campaign. Like, there are all these really cool, like young leftist candidates out there. A lot of them are women. A lot of them are people of color. Spend money and resources on people like that, and encourage that kind of stuff. Just like as far and as quickly as possible, kick out corporate money. I don't know what'll happen in 2020. I can't think about it because it's just a black hole in my mind. But I really hope that Democrats, if they do take back the House in 2018, that they don't like coast on that. They don't get complacent. So, that would number one, get rid of corporate money. That's like the number one thing they can do, because it's the right thing to do and the popular thing to do.
Yeah, definitely there. That seems to be, again, one of the issues that affects all the other issues. All right, Libby, thank you so much for joining us today. Really, really appreciate it. Everyone, Libby Watson of Splinter, and you can follow her on Twitter at Libby Steve Watson. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Thank you for the plug.
Thank you for coming on. All right. That'll be it for us today, and this has been Newsflash.